Good morning. Joke time. A woman says, my husband didn't leave a bit of insurance. Then where did you get that gorgeous diamond ring? Well, he left $1,000 for a casket and $5,000 for a stone. This is the stone. A boy used bad grammar in school. He always said, I have wrote my lesson. His teacher said, it is written, not wrote. And I want you to write on the blackboard, it is written 100 times. When she came back into the classroom, she found a note that said, I have wrote, it is written 100 times. And now I have went home. A father was examining his son's report card. One thing is definitely in your favor, he announced. With this report card, you couldn't possibly be cheating. Little Mary, just home from her first day of school, was asked by her mother, well, darling, what did you learn today? Not much, replied Mary. I've got to go back tomorrow. There I was, a bull coming at me in one direction and a bear in the other, and I only had one shell. Well, which did you shoot? I shot the bear. Why? Well, I could shoot the bull any time. Four doctors went on a duck hunting trip together. A family practitioner, a gynecologist, a surgeon, and a pathologist. As a bird flew overhead, the family practitioner started to shoot, but decided not to because he wasn't absolutely sure it was a duck. The gynecologist also started to shoot, but lowered his gun when he realized he didn't know whether it was a male or a female duck. The surgeon, however, blew the duck away, turned to the pathologist and said, go see if that was a duck. At a meeting of the college faculty, an angel suddenly appears and tells the head of the philosophy department, I will grant you whichever of three blessings you choose, wisdom, beauty, or $10 million. Immediately, the professor chooses wisdom. There is a flash of lightning, and the professor appears transformed, but he just sits there staring down the table. One of his colleagues whispers, say something. The professor says, I should have taken the money. The novice ice fisherman wasn't having any luck, but another man nearby was pulling up fish after fish through the ice. What's your secret? The newcomer asked. Mumbled the man. I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you, said the novice. The fisherman mumbled again. The neophyte shook his head and began to turn away, when the other man held up his hand. Spitting twice into his coffee cup, he said, you've got to keep the worms warm. Billingsley went to see his friend Hatfield, who was dying in the hospital. As Billingsley stood by the bed, Hatfield's frail condition grew worse, and he gestured frantically for something to write on. Billingsley handed him a pen and a piece of paper, and Hatfield used his last ounce of strength to scribble a note. No sooner had he finished the note than he died. Billingsley put the note in his pocket, unable in his grief to read it just then. A few days later, as Billingsley was talking to Hatfield's family at the wake, he realized that the note was in the pocket of the jacket he was wearing. He announced to the family, "Hat handed me a note just before he died. I haven't read it yet, but knowing him, I'm sure there's a word of inspiration for us all." And he read aloud, "You're standing on my oxygen tube." A man was asked by his friend, a football coach, to help him get some good new football players. "Coach, I know what kind of player you want. You don't want the player that, when he gets knocked down, stays down, do you?" "No," said the coach. "And you don't want the player who gets knocked down, but finally gets up, do you, coach?" "No." "But I know you want the player that when he gets knocked down, he gets up. Knock him down and he gets up every time." "No," said the coach. "You don't want the guy who gets up every time he is knocked down? Why, coach?" "Listen," said the coach. "I want that guy who is knocking everybody else down." The lecturer was illustrating the evils of liquor. Producing two glasses, one filled with water and the other with whiskey, he proceeded to drop a live worm into each glass. The worm in the water swam around in a lively manner, while the one in the whiskey promptly curled up and died. "Now then," he exclaimed triumphantly, "what does this prove?" A woman answered from the back row, "If you drink whiskey, you won't get worms." Having fought the Battle of the Bulge most of my life, I found the battle getting even harder as I approached middle age. One evening, after trying on slacks that were too tight, I said to my husband, "I'll be so glad when we become grandparents. After all, who cares if grandmothers are fat?" His prompt reply, "Grandfathers." Did I say who care? After all, who cares if grandmothers are fat? I hope so. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed some of those. I'll be back. I don't know when.